welcome to Sessions with an Adoption Attorney. This is episode number 2, or session number 2. Due to some technical difficulties, we were on hiatus for a few weeks, but hopefully all the computer problems are in the past and we can get into a nice bi-weekly rhythm with the cast. Today's minisode will deal with a topic that's extremely important to a lot of my clients. It's usually the first thing they want to talk about when we have our initial meeting, and that is open adoption. I'll be discussing the pros and cons of open adoption and then briefly touch on 3 misconceptions about it. This isn't an exhaustive study of open adoption by any means, but hopefully it gives you guys a brief understanding of exactly what it is. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach me on the web at www.nycadoptionlawyer.com, on Twitter at nycadoptionlaw, or on Instagram at nycadoptionlawyer. Let's get right into it. Open adoption. According to Wikipedia, open adoption is a form of adoption in which the biological and adoptive families have access to varying degrees of each other's personal information and have an option of contact. To start with, here are 3 pros. Number 1, this pro deals with the adopted child. Open adoption provides an adoptee with information regarding their birth family. Everyone's seen movies or read stories about an older adopted child or adult searching in vain for their birth family. And open adoption helps avoid this type of circumstance. It truly helps the adoptee have less feelings of abandonment and really removes that lingering feeling of loss that they might otherwise have. Number 2, a pro for the adoptive parents, and really this pro is for the adoptees as well, is access to medical information. If nothing else, an open adoption is essential for this reason alone. If something were to happen to a birth family in a birth family's medical history, both pre and post adoption, having an open adoption will allow them to pass on this much needed, sometimes life-saving information. Number 3, this last pro is for the birth parents. No one can truly imagine or truly understand the emotions a birth mother or a birth family goes through when they willingly give up their child for adoption. Having an open adoption allows these birth parents to lessen their sense of loss. They can really come to peace with their decision when they see how well their child is loved and cared for. Now let's get into some cons. Number 1, because the access is there is an opportunity for someone to misuse the information. A birth mother or a birth family may not be happy with this agreement, and after a few years, their bad blood that may begin to form. That's why your attorney should really work with you to determine what is best both now and in the future for you and your family in this open adoption agreement. Number 2, kind of piggybacking on number 1, if either side does see a problem with the open adoption agreement, their recourse is to bring it in front of a judge who will ultimately determine the best interest of the child. To be clear, the adoption will never be voided because of an adoption agreement, but the judge will have to come to some sort of a conclusion regarding the discrepancies, which could be granting more or less access. Number 3, this one's very important. It can be very exhausting in an open adoption situation, especially if there's a visit involved. Sometimes for days or weeks prior to the visit or after the visit, the adoptees can struggle. And just in general, there's tons of stress, anxiety, and uncertainty involved. So that's it with the pros and cons. Ultimately, I think the way our society has progressed in terms of social media and technology especially, it's a lot easier than earlier generations when it comes to updates. Instead of having to send a letter across country, for example, if someone lives in California and someone lives in New York, they could update each other with just the press of a button. This, among many other reasons, is both emotional and practical, why I truly feel an open adoption is best for all parties. Let's get into some common misconceptions about open adoption. Number 1, the child will be conflicted. While this may be true to some extent on a case-by-case basis, studies indicate that adoptees whose parents have a good relationship with birth parents are not adversely affected. In fact, research further indicates that children find it helpful to have such access. Number 2, it'll be too invasive or overwhelming. I advise clients that their level of openness is up to them and the birth parents, and if either party is not comfortable, then this might not be the right adoption plan for either side. And number 3, open adoption is not co-parenting. It is an opportunity for an adoptive family to truly teach their adopted child about life and love, but by no means should they view it as a co-parenting or a competition with a birth family. That child is yours, and for better or worse, you have that child for life. So that's it on open adoption, guys. I hope this session gave you a brief but informative look into open adoption. And if you have any further questions, please shoot me an email at az@nycadoptionlawyer.com. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you next session.